lies.
Kill the poor, fringe meeting this way. Thank you very much. Kill the poor.
Acknowledge that he was a sinner and he asked God to have mercy, and that's what you need to do, sir.
But
today.
Jesus didn't know what crime he committed. What if he
Sir,
committed
that's
a
what you need
terrible
to do
crime?
today.
What if the man on the cross committed a terrible crime that is unforgivable? Jesus allowed him into heaven.
There is no sin that God cannot forgive if a man comes to him in repentance and faith.
Even paedophilia.
Even that.
Wow! Wow! Wow!
Shame on you, Tory scum! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Lies, Tory lies. Kill the poor, fringe meeting this way. Thank you very much. Kill the poor.
Good day, Sam. Yeah. Tories? There's a whole protest against being a Tory. No defence.
That should terrify us. From your heart. So again. Well, God created man and woman. Parents were sinners, their parents were sinners, and it goes all the way back to our first ancestors, Adam and Eve. You see, this is what the law of God. You may think that the law of God, do not lie, do not steal, and the others, is a list of rules in order for you to obey to be right before God. That's not what the law of God's for. So what do you think the law of God's for?
My man took his glasses off. He means it.
But the law of God, why do we know it's wrong to lie, steal, cheat? Why does God say in his word, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, don't murder? Okay, well the law of God, man, the law of God was not given as a list for you to obey. The law of God was given to show you that you do not even want to obey. Because the first and the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, mind, soul and strength. The first 4 commandments are summed up in that. That's the first and the greatest commandments. So you're saying you haven't? And you think anybody here believes you?
Oh?
Because we know our own hearts. We know we have lustful thoughts.
Getting a bit awkward.
I'm not ridiculing you, that's not my point. I'm trying to show you that you've broken God's law and that you have no desire to keep his law. Like me. Before. I was saying that the law of God is to show you that. It's a mirror. The Bible describes the law of God as a mirror that we look in and we can see the imperfections in us. So the law says do not lie, and we look at the law and we think, well, I'm a liar, so that shows me. That shows me that I am a violator of God's law, that I'm a criminal in God's sight. And it shows me that I do not even want to do what is right, because the reason why I lied is because I wanted to lie.
Yeah. What about women and their right to be able to have a child or not have a child? Isn't it the woman's right to be able to choose if she wishes to?
I absolutely agree with you. It's the woman's right whether to have a child or not have a child.
And
so she could choose not to have sexual relations with someone, and then she won't have a child, will she?
Oh, so you're blaming the woman for, so what about a woman
I'm saying that women have the right to choose whether they have children or not. I agree with you.
So what if she was sexually assaulted and she didn't choose that?
Right, well that's a violation of her. I'm saying she should have the right.
But can she then obviously choose to not have that child if it is from a sexual assault, for example?
No, because the father's a criminal, not the woman.
But
the father's a criminal, not the baby.
But then you're justifying the actions of the male by allowing the woman to be able to live with them.
I say that the rapist should be caught and should feel the full weight of the law. If I had my way, if I was setting the laws, that man would be capital punished. Yeah. That's what the law of God says, that rapists should be capitally punished.
But what about the rights of women? But why are you punishing the woman for her choice?
We're not punishing the woman. The man's punished for his crimes. But we shouldn't punish the baby for the crimes of the father. That's not just.
But if the woman doesn't want the baby, then she will not love the baby, so then the baby won't have the best choice or the best life, will she not?
So there's a lot of people that don't have the best life. Should we murder them?
But that isn't the point. It's the point of
That's exactly the point.
why would you take the risk if you're not something that you wanted to choose?
Because ultimately it comes down to there's no good reason for murdering another human being. That will answer all of your questions.
It doesn't. It just kind of says that no matter what a woman does, she has to do what a man says.
What do you mean what a man says?
Because
Not what a man says, what God says.
Because if you ask any woman here, she would say that she has the right to choose what she does, but you're saying as a male that she doesn't because God said so. Who's to say that God is even a male?
I'm not saying that God's male.
So obviously, who are you
God
to
is
say?
spirit.
But where did he say that we can't, that a woman
But God
can't choose?
created you, and he created me, and he created this universe, and God gets to decide what laws he sets.
So where are they?
Where's God's law?
Where
It's in
are
here,
they?
sir.
No,
And you were aware
no,
of
but
those-
that's you,
those
my
laws.
friend. No, but this is a reflection of you. This isn't God. You're not God.
That's not a reflection of me. That was written 2,000 years ago. So there's no reflection on me.
Well, that's a point of opinion. There's various different versions of the Bible that vary over hundreds of
No,
years.
there's only one
Of course there
Bible,
is.
sir.
So what's the King James Bible then?
What's a translation?
It's a different version of events.
It's a translation.
And the Old Testament and the New
We're
Testament.
translated to English so we can understand it. Because you can't read Greek, I presume, or Hebrew.
Well, mate, you can be condescending all you want, mate, but it doesn't really
This is
matter.
not condescension. I'm saying the Bible's written in English so so English people can understand it. Because the majority of people don't read Hebrew or Greek.
So you can
It's not a
understand.
different version.
You ever heard about lost in translation?
What do you mean by that?
How things vary. Different translations can sometimes not be the right depiction of the original. So sometimes a rewriting of something cannot, like Sanskrit writings or Hebrew or Greek, we don't always translate them 100%.
Well, I agree with you. Any translation is not going to be 100% perfect. I agree with you. But the things that are taught can be 100% transmitted.
But on that
Because the
basis,
concepts that are taught are God's word.
that's fair enough, but on that basis, doesn't it mean there may be some mistakes in that book?
What, in the translation?
It's written by man, not by God. A man has rewrote that, not God.
God wrote it, yeah.
So, no,
Use
no,
men.
but a man rewrote it, because like you said, that isn't the
He
original
didn't
language.
rewrite it, it's been translated.
Yeah, so a man wrote it.
God preserves his word.
But a human being wrote that book.
Right, but translations can be accurate.
But human
And
beings...
there is many men who know about the Greek language who have translated this accurately. I mean, I read it in the original Greek,
Yeah.
and this book is translated accurately. No access to truth.
But
There's truth.
isn't that the joy of choice? That we choose who to vote for, we choose what to believe.
Well, you can choose what to believe, but you have no access to truth if you deny God's word.
But it feels like... So what are you trying to achieve here today? What is this about?
Well, I was trying to show that young lady before you interrupted me that she's a sinner and she's in need of a saviour. That's what we're here for.
But don't you think that's quite like? But who are you to tell her that she's a sinner?
It's not me telling her, it's the word of God.
No, it isn't. It's you. I'm listening to you talking to her, not that
Well, but I'm
book.
telling you what's in this book.
But you just told a random woman that she's a sinner.
Right. But I'm telling her what's in this book.
But who are you
How
to
do
tell
you
her?
interpret thou shalt not murder? Interpret that how you want it. There's only one way of interpreting that.
But that's a basic moral compass. That's not God. That's that we choose as human
Right, but
beings
look
to
at
hurt
that
each
sign
other.
over there.
Choice.
It happens
No.
200,000 times every year in this nation.
Yeah, but you're choosing to offend people.
Say again?
You're choosing to offend that woman. Choice. Look, choice.
Speaking the truth is not offensive.
Oh,
It may be
oh.
offensive to you subjectively,
No, but look at
it's
that.
what we should be done.
But look at that life as well. You're saying get rid of what to do with their lives. You're telling me that I should tell these women that they can't get rid
You're
of
not
their children.
listening to me.
I am listening. I'm listening.
I'm not
to
telling you. God's saying it.
So you're justifying your opinion through the book. How long have you been a Christian, can I ask?
I've been a Christian 13 years
Why did you become a Christian?
because God saved me.
Why did you need saving?
Because I'm a sinner like you.
And how do you know I'm a sinner?
Because all men are sinners.
That's a big assumption.
It's what the Bible tells us, and it's not a very difficult assumption when we look around us and we look in our own hearts.
Okay, I understand that.
You and me are sinners, sir.
Yeah.
That means that we are guilty before a holy God,
Okay.
and God is going to call us to account. You may commit a crime in this country, and there's a few policemen around, you may not get away, but maybe if you're lucky you'll be able to get away from these policemen and get away from the courts. Nobody will get away from God's court.
Okay.
God will bring you before his holy court, and God will judge you according to his holy standard, which is not only written in this book, you know about it. You know it's wrong to murder.
Yes.
And you're going to be brought before this God, and you're going to be judged according to his holy law, and you're going to be found guilty. And the punishment for your guilt is to be cast into hell for all eternity.
Sounds hot.
It sounds terrifying, sir.
Yeah, but in relation to like...
And it logically follows.
Yeah, I understand.
Because
what
God
you're
is
saying.
just. And do you know what the problem with the other religions?
Well,
Like Hinduism or Islam, do you know what the problems are with those religions?
no?
Well, particularly Islam and Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons. They claim that God is just. They would say that God is just, but they will say that God is merciful. But God cannot let off sinners. He can't let people like me and you, sinners, but those who have violated his law, into his kingdom and maintain his justice. Can you see the problem?
Yeah.
It's like you committed a crime in this country, getting brought. Let's say you did some terrible crime, you murdered someone, you got brought before the judge.
Yeah.
And that judge said, I'm just going to let you off, I'm feeling kind, I'm feeling loving, I'm feeling merciful today. What do you think the family of the people, of the person that you've murdered are going to say from the dock? They're going to scream out injustice, aren't they?
But that's the legal system, my friend, not God.
And the only reason we have a judicial system is because God has given it us.
No, the Queen gave it us.
No, she didn't.
She did. It's Her
God-
Majesty's service.
No, well, it's called that, but God establishes justice, and God establishes governments to administer justice. That's why these people are in serious trouble, because they're not administering justice, they're allowing murderers to go free. That's why they're in trouble. That's why we preach to these places, that God may have mercy upon at least one or two of them, that they would turn away from their sin and stop legalising murder, stop legalising sexual immorality.
Oh, section.
But forget about those, because I'm concerned about your soul.
But you seem to be concerned. You're concerned about everybody's soul, my friend.
Well, I am concerned about everyone's soul, but I'm talking to you.
But what's your problem with sexuality? Why can't people choose to have sex with whoever they want as long as it's not children? What's
I'm
that?
going to ask you to answer that question.
But what has it got to do with us? Who somebody
Based on what I've
attracted
said, how would you answer that? How do you think I'm going to answer that question?
to? You'd say God's going to smite them?
I'd say God set that law.
Law? There's not a
Yes, the
law.
It's the law of God.
No,
In
it
the same
isn't.
way we have a law in this nation, we have a law of God. That's
So-
what the Ten Commandments are, the law of God.
But if it was a law, then surely the gay people that exist in this city would be getting arrested by God, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
But they're not.
And not only the homosexual, we don't
Look,
just pick.
the
we
police
pick
are
on
not arresting
homosexual
anybody.
people.
The police are not arresting
I'm not here to
anybody.
pick on homosexual people. I'm pointing a finger at you and saying, according to God's law, you're a sinner.
Yeah, you do have this.
You're a sinner.
You do that where you target the person you're talking to, but that isn't the point. The point is the wider picture. What is the message? You are meant to be spreading a
Okay,
message.
well, let me get there. We were getting
Stop
there.
shouting. You're meant to be spreading a message of peace and love, and all that I see here today is hatred.
I'm
But
a-
you're telling everybody that they're
I'm the chief
sinners.
of sinners. It is one sinner speaking to another sinner, so I don't think I'm better. And if you feel that I hate you, then I apologise for that, for I do not hate you.
I don't think you hate me. I think you just don't like humanity because of the choices that you've made
I'm
in your
here
life.
on an errand of love. Whether you believe that or not, or whether I'm actually portraying
I'm
that
just,
or not, that...
look, mate, I just said, like I
Okay.
said, when you're making a woman angry and upset, that isn't love. Telling a woman that she can't do what she wants to do isn't love.
It is love.
No, it isn't.
We
Telling
can
a woman that she can't choose to do what she wants with her life isn't love. That's hatred.
Yeah, because when a woman takes her baby to an abortionist and has her murdered...
It isn't a baby yet. It's a fetus.
It is a baby, sir.
It isn't. It
It's a
isn't
human
alive.
being. But okay, you want to talk about love. Okay, to truly understand love, you need to understand justice. So God is just, you have broken God's law.
Which God?
Just
Old,
search.
Old Testament or New Testament?
There's
In the
only
Old,
one God.
in the Old Testament, he wasn't very nice.
I've just been preaching on that for
What is that? The New Testament or the Old? Yeah, show me in the Old Testament.
Ask him to tell you about Leviticus.
Leviticus. My friend said Leviticus. Thank you.
Ask him to talk about Leviticus. Find that in the Bible.
Is that Old Testament?
It says in Leviticus.
So, okay, you want to know where God is just in the Old Testament? Okay. Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses, who trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But you do not look to the Holy One of Israel or consult the Lord. And yet he is wise and brings disaster. He does not call back his words, but he will arise against the house of the evildoers and against the helpers of those who work iniquity. God will bring justice on evildoers. That's God's justice in the Old Testament. And do you want to see in the New Testament the very words of Jesus Christ? It was the passage I was preaching from. Jesus Christ says, woe to you Chorazin, woe to you Bethsaida. These are places in Jerusalem, in Israel, God's people. He goes, for if the mighty works done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, these are cities that were considered evil, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, it will be more bearable on the day of judgment for Tyre and Sidon, for you. This is what it's saying here. It will be more bearable on that day for those wicked cities that the Jewish people expected God to judge. He's saying it will be more bearable on you. Which, speaking to his people, speaking to the cities that were apparently good cities, like good Birmingham here, God is saying to this city here today in Birmingham, it's going to be more worse for you on Judgment Day than it is for some other cities that we think are truly evil. I don't know what cities you might have in your mind that are truly evil, that deserve God's judgment.
Some people may say Israel.
Which they may do, but that's not my point to say what country is evil or not. But what I'm trying to say is God is just. In the Old Testament, the New Testament, God is one God. There is one God. There's only one God. And he's given us one law, and he will judge men and women according to this one law.
Do you know that Jesus is in Islam too?
It's not Jesus.
Do you know what he's called in Islam?
It's
Isa.
not Jesus though.
He's a prophet. Why isn't he? Who are you? How do you know?
Because they deny his fundamental character.
But how
they
do you
deny
know?
that he's God?
But how do you know that Jesus
Because Jesus
wasn't?
claims to be God.
But how do you know that he wasn't in Islam and depicted as Isa?
Because I know what Islam teaches.
But you don't know that you haven't. Have you spoken to God and asked him if Isa was real and Jesus in Islam?
This is God's word.
But you just. But
Jesus Christ
that's
calls himself God.
That's
Calls
what.
himself the very covenant name of God.
But that's one version of the. There's 27 different versions.
But no, it's not.
There's 27 different religions that depict Jesus.
Oh, that's true, but none of them are Jesus. But you want to talk about love, sir? Let's talk about love. So justice, me and you deserve the justice of God, right? We deserve to be punished, we deserve to go to hell, that's what we deserve. But God, knowing that he couldn't just let you and me off, he couldn't just let sinners into his kingdom and not punish the crimes that they have done, because that's unjust and God can't deny his character. God, knowing that, sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die in the place of sinners. That's why we're here today, to speak of Jesus Christ and his sacrifice. God, realizing there is nothing that you could do to get into heaven, that God would have to judge you and send you to hell if you stood before him, sent his son, who was punished. And you see that graphic picture over there? Jesus was brutalized, that his bones were showing, that his sinews were showing. And he went to a cross, a sinless man went to a cross, that sinners may escape the judgment of God. Why? We say, well, how can sinners get into heaven? It's just, right? God's got to punish sin. Well, that's what Jesus Christ did.
No, he didn't. Jesus forgave them.
My lying, my stealing, my cheating, my fornicating, my adulteries, all of the sins that I have committed were taken off me, put on Jesus Christ, and he was punished in my place. God struck down his son, punished his son for my crimes. The justice is still done.
Yeah, but
God's justice is done, and yet he can be merciful to me and allow me to go into heaven.